So I'm reading on this newspaper ad from Pennsylvania. I shouldn't say an ad, an article rather.
Okay.
About some truckers that got scammed.
Ew.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to, remind everybody out there, that there's scams out there on the road. And I'm going to say it now, so I reiterate it later, that, if something sounds too good to be true, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody's like, okay, you got to make this deal now. It's going away.
You got to do it now.
You got to buy this car now. We got 25 people waiting for it.
Exactly. Make the deposit.
But I mean, actually, that's how car dealers work. But I'm talking about scams out on the road, where something the scammer approaches you with, and it's always you pulling $1 out of your pocket, drivers, and then you get boom, screwed, and next thing you know, you lose money. Anyway, so check this article out. It's crazy. 7 arrested in multi-county robbery ring targeting, or it was scamming truckers. So craziness. All right. So it says 7 men who authorities said stole jewelry and cash from people at truck stops and rest areas. And this is in Washington County, Westmoreland County, and Somerset counties in Pennsylvania. They were arrested on Thursday.
So Westmoreland, Somerset, and what was the other counties?
Westmoreland. I got to go back. Somerset, Westmoreland, and Washington counties. I think that's up in like the Du Bois area, up off of 80, I believe. Or it could be, you know what? It also could be down off the Turnpike area, because I think later on they got them in Somerset. This is where the scammers got taken down by the law. Johnny Law. Exactly. So anyway, so check it out. So this is the part, one of the parts really gets me, and I'm about to read it. It says, the suspects were found with more than $21,000 in jewelry and other items, as well as CB radios that police believe were being used by the men to communicate one with another. What's funny is you have a group of men scamming and somehow using the CB to go, him over there, blah, blah, blah.
I get this guy, this trucker here walked in. I seen him carry a big bag of stuff out to his truck.
Right. It says 6 of the suspects are from Cincinnati. Robert Dennis Murphy, 70.
Oh, gosh.
Adam Rick Smith, 38. Robert Thomas Chandler, 44. Danny Williams, 48. John Henry Black is 38. And Daryl Marshall Knoll, 38. The seventh suspect, Wendell Compton, 54, is from Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, going back, you had a reaction when I mentioned Robert Dennis Murphy, 70.
Yeah.
My pappy's robbing people. I'm like, oh my gosh, it kills your vision of your grandfather or your pap or whatever you want to call him when you see some 70-year-old buck robbing people, scamming people. It's like a dirty old man involved. I mean, at 70, you would think you'd be going, I think I'm going to hang up my crime shoes.
You would think something because, at 70, you really don't want to be going to jail at that point, I think.
And do you think maybe the Pappy effect was like the final touch that maybe pushes some of these truckers and people over in believing, like, who wouldn't believe a little old lady from Pasadena or, you know what I mean? Or little grandpappy offering you something that, it's just that little old man. He can't be scamming me.
Right. No, I agree. It's a good infiltration.
Yeah. It says court papers detail how state police believe the group moved east through Pennsylvania on Tuesday afternoon. So it started on Tuesday, and I guess they got them on Thursday. It says the group hit the Flying J Travel Plaza Center, in South Huntington off Interstate 70. So I was wrong. It's not, the counties are down you know how 70 and the Turnpike run together, and 68's not far. So it's in more like that southern PA area.
Not far from Cincinnati, where they're...
Well, no. I mean, Cincinnati's a little ways off because you got to go all the way across. But yeah, you're right. Eventually you can get over there on 68 or 70 and then cut down 71 from Columbus. But anyways, either way, it says a Tennessee man and 2 others from Pittsburgh told investigators that a group of men claimed that a trucker won a $50,000 lottery jackpot and was given and they were giving out cash to people at the truck stop. The robbers offered to double the cash in the men's wallets and the value of the rings on their fingers. They made off with $300 and 11 rings valued at more than $42,000 in a white car and a gold minivan, according to the court papers. So it doesn't really say how the scam was working. Okay, but I know how some scams working, and I was looking some up. It says the South Somerset Service Plaza was next. Troopers were called to a Pennsylvania Turnpike rest area at 6:15 p.m. and said that members of the group again claimed the lottery ruse and offered to play a card game, probably one of those, things where you put the card on the table and they put 2 red, like 2 red jack of diamonds and 1 black queen of diamonds, and you got to pick the black card, because you have red and black in your card decks, and then they do that shuffle. So, and if it's really what they're doing is conning, somebody. Have you ever seen that card game?
No, I haven't. I'm just letting you keep going now.
Have you ever seen the game where they'll take like 3 little shells and they'll put a pea under it and they'll shuffle it around?
Yes.
Okay, well, the card game is also like that, where they take 3 cards and they bend all 3 and they'll say, look, 2 red and 1 black.
Okay.
Or 2 black and 1 red, whatever, right? And you got to, it says keep your eye on the black card, right? And you've got to follow it. So what they do is they'll flick them down onto the table real fast, and they'll shuffle them really fast. And what they're really doing is they throw it looks like they're throwing the odd card down first, so your eye goes to that, and they're real fast, and they're really good at it, and you lose almost every time. Okay, so now I don't know if that's the card game they were playing, but it probably was something similar to that. And it said they stole $1,000 from a trucker and ripped off a necklace and a ring. It said valued at $24,000 from a woman who had stopped at the plaza also. So again, it doesn't really give you the details of the scam, but I've got a few things I want to say about this. And there's many scams out there. And when you're on the road, okay, you got to realize you're a real easy target because you're not from the area. Therefore, you're passing through. And if there's local scammers or traveling scammers, they could be targeting you and you don't even realize it. Okay, so here's more like how some of the scams are working. A scammer, and maybe they're people, okay, they show up and they have a lottery ticket. Now, maybe not 50,000, but let's just say, for example, a $1,500 winning ticket, right? But what happens is the ticket will be, this is where they get you a lot of times. It'll be a ticket dated from today with the numbers that won yesterday. You understand? Like if you go and you play, like, say a lottery where it's 5 numbers and like a Powerball, it's just something stupid, right? And you lose, but tomorrow you can go in at the desk and say, I want these numbers, and it'll be the numbers from yesterday. Okay, so now people aren't looking at the date, and they show you this ticket in, like, say, the parking lot, and they say, I need someone to cash this because I don't have ID. So what I did was I looked up lottery claims. And if it's over $600, you have to have a valid ID to be able to cash this at a desk. So, for example, if you showed a trucker or somebody in a parking lot a $1,500 winning ticket, right? But you don't have ID and you make an offer, and this is what they'll do. They'll say, we'll split the ticket with you. Okay, all you have to do is give us $750 and you get the rest. And really where the scam gets really thick and heavy is, they rush you. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no time to think at all when you're sitting there, like say at a fuel pump or in the back of a truck stop or whatever the case is. And maybe you tell the trucker, I can't go into the store. And you're thinking, well, I'll just go in and cash it now for you, and I'll give you your half, right? And I'll use my ID. But the scam is where they're like, well, I have an emergency. I got to get down the road. I'm just needing cash now. I don't have time to go, for you to go in there and get in a line. I got to be somewhere right now. I'll even take $500. I just need to get moving, and you could make yourself, $750 or $1,000. And here's the problem. Most people are saying to themselves, something don't sound right.
You're right. Most people would see that.
But you and I, we know a lot of truckers.
I might, Rabbit.
Okay. We know a lot of truckers, and we know a lot of them are just good old boys. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are just working class people that are literally just, they're not, their minds don't think of scammers and all that other stuff, even though their gut's telling them something don't sound right. But there's a lot of people out there that are just good people. You know what I mean?
Right. We think, well, I personally am the cups always half full, always see the good. So I have a hard time with thinking people are scamming. That I do have a hard time with that because I'm one of those.
But you still are at least smart enough to understand when something sounds
right.
That I do know about you.
Right.
Yes, you're right. You are one of the people that are, I don't want to say a bleeding heart, but you're more like,
I kind of am.
You try to look on the good side of people, which is cool. All right. And in fact, we're supposed to look on the good side of people. But there's many people out there that are just, to be honest with you, that's why scams are big, because people believe people.
Right.
That's really why. But so, one of the telltale signs is if it's too good to be true, it is, guys and gals out there. And the second thing that's a telltale sign is when they don't have time. It's got to happen now.
Right.
You need to pull your money out and give me that now. I don't know how they were getting the jewelry off them. You know what I mean? How they were... I don't understand unless they were just robbing them. I don't understand that part. But definitely the lottery scam and stuff like that, where they tell you, here, or even they try to sell you a piece of jewelry that we paid $10,000 for this, and you're not an expert, and you give them $1,000, and it's only a zirconia worth about $1. But going back to the lottery scam, when somebody approaches you to where, man, you've got less than 90 seconds because they're leaving to either get this incredible deal or they're going to give it to somebody else, let it go. I'm going to tell, there is absolutely, if somebody is desperate for money because they're like, man, I really need the money. I needed to pay a hospital bill, or I needed to get food for my family. And you literally say to them that, well, let's go in and I'll get the lottery ticket now and I'll cash it and give you your half. If they don't have time to wait for that, then they really don't have an emergency. Just remember that. If it's too good to be true, it is. I had a person walk up to me, and I think this is a pretty common scam at a pilot one time, and he had a sob story. When they come to you, one of the scams, or most scams, is when they're very detailed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. You've told me that one before. When they're too detailed, there's something wrong.
Right. Well, this guy approached me one time, and he said they ran out of gas on the interstate, right? And they said that they just needed a couple dollars to get gas and buy a gas can or something to that effect, right? Mm-hmm. And they were just asking me and people at the pump for cash. And, as soon as I said, well, how about I take you back to your car and I'll get a gas can and get you gas? That wasn't good enough. They just needed the cash to get it taken care of and all that other good stuff. So, when they can't be reasoned with and it needs to happen now, you need to give them money now. Right. I promise you that is a scam.
Right. It's a scam, or it's something that you really don't want to be involved in.
Some of them, some of them will even have like a puppy with them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or somebody that looks like they're in need. And like this scam had a 70-year-old man.
Right.
Who doesn't believe Pappy?
I just...
honestly, it's like, dude, you're a Pappy. You're a freaking old man. And you're, unbelievable. It's like, but this is what they do. They play on your heart. And then they also play on the fact that, if they get you in what I call a whirlwind, you know what I mean? This offer of you being able to, in 5 minutes, you're going to be $500 or $1,000 richer. Okay. I promise you that's a scam. No, nobody's going to give away half their lottery numbers. Okay. But, of course, the scam is I don't have ID. I don't have any with me, and I need to get this thing done now. Okay. Okay, that's believable for a second, but if you don't have 5 minutes while I go into the desk, the fuel desk or whatever, the cashier desk, and get this winnings for you right now, then guess what? It's a BS scam.
Well, here's what I would do, honestly. If I'm at a truck stop and someone drove in or is hanging out there and said, I need this done, I would say, first of all, are you driving? And if they're saying, yeah, say, well, you should have a driver's license, then you're driving illegally.
Well, they could say they lost it or forgot it. Many people don't bring, have their driver's license with them sometimes.
Well, you know what? And if there's more than one of them has to have some kind of ID. I guess I wouldn't want to be involved. If the guy's driving around without his license and he supposedly is driving, I don't want to be involved in that, period.
You know what most people that get scammed say? I wish I would have listened to my instinct.
Right.
Something inside me was telling me this is too good to be true. But I thought, man, $1,000 in just a minute, just by handing this guy $500 or $1,000, I'm going to make $1,000. Boom. I should have listened to my gut. And that's really what that's what I wanted to tell people. I just seen that article and I'm like, man, I'm going to tell these guys, watch out, especially, and there's truckers out there right now saying to them, well, duh, I would never fall for that.
Yeah.
And, quite frankly, a lot of people won't fall for that.
There is, and it's not saying that the ones that did fall for it are stupid or anything like that. They just happen to, be con, and it happens all the time to the best of people. The only thing that's really getting me is the cards. How are they able to, what they were doing was just playing a game, but I guess my problem is how are they able to get both of those cons happening at the same time?
Well, maybe they were doing, it said there were 7 of them, so maybe around the back of the building or somewhere in the parking lot, they had, I think it's called 3-card Annie or something like that.
I know what you're saying now.
Yeah.
In another area, 2 of them were working a group, and then in another area it was the lottery scam. And I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, or maybe they were just playing different scams as they go down the road, and hitting. Mm-hmm. But, bottom line is, okay, watch out, guys. You guys especially that are very nice people that, you and people, who you are, watch out for anybody that rushes you and is trying to make an offer to you. That's all I wanted to say.
Right.
So, moving on. Hey drivers, are you sick of watching the other drivers bypass the way station while you are held up going through yourself? Well, download DriveWise today at www.drivewise.com. That's DRIVEWYZE.com, and start bypassing the scales yourself. If you're a small carrier, an owner-operator, or even a big fleet looking for something better, check out DriveWise today. And remember, there's no equipment, no transponders needed when you're using DriveWise. Check them out for a free download at www.drivewYZE.com. If you're a driver looking for a new trucking job, check out NCI. NCI offers the following: new Kenworth T680s, competitive wages, solo, team, and students welcome, plus a full benefit package for you and your family. Check them out today at 888-311-7076. That's 888-7076. And tell them Talk CDL sent you. Truck Parking Club is a network of instantly reservable daily and monthly truck parking locations throughout the U.S. Truck Parking Club helps connect truckers to truck parking locations throughout the U.S. via truckparkingclub.com. Our networks is made up of property owners that have locations adequate for truck parking to list on the platform. This includes trucking companies, storage companies, CDL schools, trailer leasing companies, real estate investors, truck parking operators, and more. Go to truckparkingclub.com today. Drivers, if you're looking for a local, home, everyday driving job, apply with Carter Lumber today. They have positions for Class A and Class B local drivers. They can take experienced drivers, students, and non-CDL drivers. With over 160 locations, chances are they have a position for you. So go to carterlumber.com/talkcdl and apply today. Again, that's carterlumber.com/talkcdl. Thank you. All right. So, a sad story that I seen the other day. It was kind of crazy. And it kind of goes with, because we have a little survey today about the top, toughest states for load securement. You actually had found that. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be reading that. What's funny is there's an article that I came across before you sent that to me. And here's the title to it: Forgotten Tool Falls Off of Flatbed Trailer and Kills a Woman.
Oh, my.
So, apparently it says the accident happened just actually a few days ago in Georgia. And it says, according to the news, they identify, I can't even read this, identified as the tool. Sorry, people. The tool was identified as a winch bar. So, the bar that they use to crank the straps and stuff with. It said it fell off the semi-truck along Interstate 75. A portion of the roadway was shut down for an hour as medics provided treatment to the victim. The victim, Lynn Fleming, did not survive. The situation is very tragic and could have been so simply avoided, said the state police in Georgia. The truck driver was not hurt in the incident, and it's unclear if any citations were issued. And I would tell you, going with just that part of it, you may not be criminally indicted, but you can sure bet civilly in a civil court you will lose all day long.
Right.
And I'm sure that the trucking company, their insurance is going to get sued. People are getting sued, I guarantee you, over this one. Mm-hmm. And again, it's going to be a very horrible thing, especially if your employer terminates you and then puts on and it doesn't say what trucking company it was with. So it could have been a big company. It could have been a little company. Mm-hmm. So, let this be a lesson to all you bigger companies and all you flatbedders that are out there, that this is a such a simple little, oops, I forgot something on the back of the trailer instead of putting it in my toolbox, and I hit a bump, and boom, it falls. Because if you're doing 70, 80 miles an hour and something comes off of your truck, in fact, I'll tell you who's famous for it, rock haulers.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've been behind rock haulers where you see like a couple stones drop and it does like a football. You know, like when a football is, if somebody misses a pass or they kick off a football.
Ping, ping, ping.
Exactly. It'll roll, and then if it hits the end of the ball, it bounces upward. Mm-hmm. And it's the same with the winch bar. It probably went in and rolled, and then maybe the end hit and it popped upward, and my guess is it went through the poor woman's windshield.
That's what I was thinking too, as it went through the windshield.
Years ago in Pennsylvania, when we lived up there, I think it was Tamaqua, Pennsylvania, I remember a young trucker. He was actually really new too. He didn't have his pipes secured, and somehow the pipe came off and went back and jumped up and went through and killed a woman. Mm-hmm. Actually in Tamaqua. You can look that up, probably from 25 years ago. But anyways, bad load securement can really, really be a tragic, not only for the general public, but also for yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We have many videos and pictures of cabs where pipe or building material has come through. And if you think the headache rack is going to hold that stuff back, it's not.
No, not all of it, no.
I mean, it can sometimes, but, most stuff, heavy stuff, that headache rack is really not going to hold back. But it's a tragic story. It's actually a horrible story. When I hate, personally, when anybody dies of, like, a weird death. It's like, who would have thought? I'm sure her family, they're all scratching their head in tears today going, how the heck do you get... It's like you're not safe anywhere. That you got to be thinking that. It's like, wow. I mean, just something falls off a truck and bounces through the window and kills our family. Your mind's got to be fogged out today thinking that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of those neglectful type of incidences. Because, in his mind, in the driver's mind, he probably had so much consumed. He probably, there could have been so much, you don't know what's going on in his life. He could have been concentrating on an emergency he was thinking of, or his spouse, or if he's married or whatever, could have called him, said, hey, listen, our child is going through this. So he could have been so consumed with something else. He just didn't think of the simple process of putting that away. And look what happened now. He's tenfold his mind now is just consumed. I wouldn't want any of that on anybody.
I will say this also. Most likely criminal charges won't be filed. And people are out there going, well, how could they be? And I'll show you how they could be. You know what the PSP is, right? The PSP that the CSA has, where you can run a driver's report. You just put his driver's license in there, and you pull up what's called the PSP report, and inspections come up.
Yep.
And some drivers, if you look, I mean, I know a company in Chicago that's a flatbed company, and I know the guy personally. And when he pulls a driver's PSP, if they show like a lot of unsecured load tickets, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Negligent. It's like... Right. His name is Mike. He'll be like, this guy doesn't learn his lesson.
Right.
So now if this driver, went and has a long history of bad inspections, mm-hmm. Guess what? There is a chance that he could be negligently criminally charged. He could get now a ticket, or not a ticket, but he could be taken to court. Let's say, for example, this guy, if you go back the last 3 years and you could see 3 or 4 inspections where his straps were loose, or where stuff was coming off, or where he had, all kind of just bad securement tickets. And now all of a sudden somebody's killed. There's a good chance prosecutors can take that to a jury, mm-hmm. or a grand jury is different, but there's a chance that a prosecutor can get that into court and say, this guy was warned 1,000 times. Right. And was ticketed 1,000 times, and yet he still didn't get his act together, and now someone has died from it. Let's stick his ass in jail. And I'm telling you, that could happen if...
Oh, yeah, it could. I'm not going to deny that, because they see a pattern of the way he lives his life, and they will build a case on the way he actually is, on as far as how his work ethics are. And if he is not doing his inspections, if he isn't, if he's a continual speeder, if, all those different things build up on a case. And that's how they end up really closing something, because they look at their history on how they actually are. And they'll go from that to get whatever kind of decision from the judge that they need.
I 100% agree. So guys, one good warning, especially flatbedders. And listen, don't think that you reefer haulers and dry van haulers are beyond that. If you got an inspected load and, you got freight that's falling over and it's not a sealed load, and they're able to look in there, and you get fined for loads that are not secured inside your trailer, you can get that.
Oh, yeah.
So you just don't, one of the things you don't want to do is actually get, violations, because it goes on your record. Okay, not the company's record. So listen, Ruth Ann, I want to say moving on, but I want to stay on load securement for a second. You had sent me this top 10 states that have the toughest inspections for load securement.
I did.
And it's funny. I was reading the article, and you guys can go. It's on Overdrive online. You guys can go read the entire article. It's a pretty good size article, and it talks about a driver that got a ticket last year, I think in Oregon or Wisconsin, where he was getting inspected, and they're very thorough in some states, like Insanity. Alrighty. And he was getting inspected, and because it had a cut in the strap. Okay. Yeah.
Well, the straps are important. They shouldn't have any.
Well, nicks and stuff like that, they look at that.
Right. And then there was a new law that had gone through not long ago where they don't even accept certain types of material anymore for their securements.
Very correct. And I guess he said the DOT inspector. Oh, excuse me. That was a kind of a belch. A DOT inspector, he said when he seen the nick or the cut in the strap, he went and measured it. So, he was pretty serious. This guy was up on top.
It's a thorough.
Very, very thorough. So anyways, I guess, so he changed the strap. I didn't see if he got a ticket or not. He probably got a little write-up for it. And then he ended up giving the DOT officer the old strap for a souvenir. But so I want to read to you the 10 top toughest states if you're a flatbedder. In fact, this article also covered, because there's the inspections coming up, the Blitz.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blitz is coming up, and they a lot of them surveyed said that they're not going to be out that week. A lot of truckers are shutting down because of Blitz week.
That's when we're going on vacation.
Well, some of them are actually doing vacation. Some of them are actually whatchamacallit. They're putting their truck in the shop for any kind of extra work or anything like that, just to avoid that week, because let's be honest, the Blitz week is tough. They are out to, if you remember correctly, we talked about this last year. On Blitz week, you have a inspection station down the road from the other. You have them all over, and I'm sure some of them are wanting to outdo each other. So they're really looking for anything they can write you up on with Blitz week.
I understand that there's probably, a lot of drivers that don't have the proper maintenance done on their vehicle, on their semi and on the trailer. But honestly, I kind of get scared, really scared, truthfully, knowing that many people are trying to skip it, because it makes me think how unsafe a lot of those tractors are now on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that don't give a crap. Really, honestly, there's a lot of... In fact, the reason for the PSP, which was, if you really want to know what happened back in 2010. They called it CSA 2010. This is 13 years ago. I remember this specifically. They started putting the violations on the driver instead of the company. And the reason, like, for example, if you're driving for a company that had really crappy equipment, and back in the day, okay, it was
common.
It was a lot more, and I know it still goes on. But back in the day, trucking companies, they didn't care, okay? And so they would take a fine, and believe it or not, the fine would go on the driver. The company would tell them that they would pay it, and then they never did. And then also the inspection went on the company, though. So the inspection didn't go on the driver. So what happened was in 2010, what's smart of them, they probably should have did this years ago. They said, we're going to start doing it to the driver instead of the company. If a company has bad tires and a driver gets pulled in, we're going to put it on his score. We're going to give him now a DOT rating. And so in doing this, truckers started saying, screw you, trucking company. I'm not going to work for a company that has really crappy, unsafe equipment. It forced companies to clean up their act, because now what the DOT managed to do was they managed to get the truckers to indirectly police the trucking companies for them. Seriously.
No, it's true.
Right. So what happened was, they started, a driver would go in, they'd be working for a company, and they would get a ticket. And so they would end up saying, oh, you know what, I'm getting screwed here, because when they would go to get another job, when you have too many violations, a lot of companies will not hire you, because they're saying, listen, this trucker keeps driving bad equipment. He's the one being unsafe, not the company, because now you're getting the rating. And so what happens is, if a trucking company hires a trucker with a bad safety rating, their insurance goes up.
It does.
So the effect comes now from a trucker not standing up for his rights and tolerating a bad trucking company. So believe it or not, truckers have a lot to do with this now. So I would always tell you, truck drivers out there, if you are working for a trucking company that has bad equipment, leaks, violation after violation, you're eventually going to be the guy nobody wants, because you're the one tolerating bad stuff, where you are now to not tolerate it.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to give you a quick list, top 10 companies where the toughest inspections go for load securement. And believe it or not, some of these states, they're not known for many inspections, but they're known for tough load securement inspections. Number 10, Maryland. They are number 10. Last year, their intensity rating was number 2, but this year they're 10.
They slacked a little?
Well, maybe they got, either that or some other ones just got tougher. You know what I mean? Like,
True.
just because you fall in your ratings doesn't mean that you're slacking. It just means maybe somebody's, outdoing you for toughness. Number 9 is Vermont. Last year they were 40. So they were like, you know what, we got to get tougher, and they are in the top 10 now. Number 8 is Florida. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. Florida is. I didn't know Florida had such a tough inspection in Florida for flatbedders, but apparently the Florida DOT is kicking some tail. Last year, Florida was number 20. Number 7 is New Hampshire. Last year, they were 35. Number 6 is Alabama. Last year, they were number 15. Number 5 is North Carolina. Last year, their intensity was number 4. So they didn't really change much, North Carolina. Number 4 this year is Wyoming. Last year, they were 47. So they were almost at the end last year. And, again, they get the numbers, and they probably said, listen, guys, we are now going to get tougher on these guys. And so when you have a state that's in the bad rankings, I would also watch out for them, because they may be now trying to get their numbers up. But right now, number 3 is Tennessee. Last year, they were 13. Number 2 And it's funny is number 2 and number 1 are right beside each other. Number 2 is Washington. Last year they were 5. And number 1 is Oregon. And they are not known for inspections, they said. I know their port of entry they are known for. But number 1 toughest DOT load securement inspectors right now are Oregon. Last year they were 44.
You know, every state except for Alabama and Florida have a lot of hills, like large, like mountains, get a lot of weather. So I wonder if because of accidents, you know, I would say that's why a company would get stricter on their load securements because of accidents that have been caused and maybe higher death rates because of the equipment or whatever they're carrying, their load shifted somehow and created an accident that way, or was devastating because of the fact, you know, higher fatalities or something.
I don't know. I mean, you know, I think a lot of load securement stuff happens when a trucker has to slam on his brakes or swerve because somebody cuts him off. I mean, we've seen some accidents with flatbedders, and I mean, I have some crazy pictures where a flatbedder was flipped over and that load didn't go anywhere. It was literally secured. Like you could see this flatbed guy knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, but we've also gotten those videos and those pictures that some of us, we took personally of the equipment being really, I mean, it looks like it's just got a couple of straps of saran wrap holding that sucker together, and that's about it. You know,
yeah.
How many times do we go down the road and we look at it and we're like, Sanford and Son type of loading there, you know?
Exactly. You know, the guy that doesn't care doesn't check his stuff. The guy that does care, you can roll him over and most of the time his load's not coming off a lot of times. But I will say this, and just to end this segment, you know, no matter how good you are, you can still forget something. A hammer, a wrench, that with a winch bar like this guy did, even a rolled up strap, which is really heavy with the metal. Maybe you realize you didn't need that extra strap and you had it sitting on the back of the trailer. And a lot of times something loose doesn't come off, Ruthann. But in that little instance case, I tell you, I had a 7-Up sitting on my ICC bumper that I forgot at a shipper when I was picking up a load. I set it on the bar to close my barn doors, got in my truck. I went 550 miles. I got to a receiver. I got out to open up my doors to back in, and the damn 7-Up was sitting on the ICC bumper. I mean, that was incredible.
Must not have been in Pennsylvania.
Well, the
roads are too bumpy.
Well, I'm just saying though, with a good air ride trailer, a lot of times something doesn't come off, but there's a reason why we have load securement, and that's because of cases where this poor woman, you know, I mean, just driving down the road, minding your own business, and this happens to you. I would say, guys, when you're strapping a load or you're securing your load, do yourself a favor. Sometimes you got a lot on your mind, okay? And you're really good at it. In fact, to be honest with you, mistakes are made when you get to a point where you think you're the best at something and you're just flying through it like it's nothing. Honestly, each load should be handled the exact same way as far as care goes.
Your very first one.
Right. As far as care goes, use caution with every load because, guys, it can change your life. This guy might have been one of the best load securement guys in the country, Ruth,
right.
And his life has changed forever now.
He could be one of these like 5 million mile non-accident type of guys, like where he's never had an incident, and all of a sudden this happens, and it could really devastate him. It could put him in a major depression just because he's never had something like this happen, and he could be the type of person like he's dwelling on the fact that he just now, because of his lack of responsibility and his, you know, not paying attention, he now caused a death of someone, and he could be one of those kind of people that it really affects, you know, horribly.
I met a guy that worked for Warner. Excuse me. He worked for Warner for 15 years. he had 15 safe driving awards. This guy was really good. 15 years with no accidents, no tickets, no nothing. This guy literally had 15 safe driving awards. And going into his 16th year, I forget what happened. It was his fault. But he rolled one over. Just like that. And he told me, just like that, I took my eyes off the road and it happened. And believe it or not, nobody would hire the guy, no matter how good he looked at that time. I remember this specifically. Nobody would give this guy a chance. And so what I'm getting at is you take your mind off your job for 1 second and it happens. You forget something, you swerve, you do something. Just drivers, what I would say is proceed with caution because load securement is very serious. That's all I wanted to say about that, Ruth Ann. Moving on. Can we move on?
Yeah.
All right, cool. There was something else I wanted to mention. I wanted to mention also, somebody had wrote in and they're like, man, you keep mentioning the bad freight rates and the fuel prices and how bad it is out there. And it sometimes can get depressing hearing all that. Well, I mean, be honest with you, it's what's going on. But I wanted to give everybody some good news. Some people might not believe this, I'm actually seeing an uptick. I see a lot of car hauling jobs out there right now. People are starting to advertise now harder, and I see some rates going up. So I don't know if this is the turn. I know the prediction is 2024 till it fully turns around, but they call it the bullwhip. I believe you're starting to see some good things happen in trucking. I'm not ringing the bell saying, hey, it's getting great out there, but I do see a little uptick. And I just wanted to mention this. I wanted to say, cheer up, guys, because the trucking industry is the first to see the bad times, always, because freight is the birth of our country as far as the economy goes, fuel and everything. But we're also the first to see the good times. So we're first to see the bad, but we're also first to see it turning around when the rest of the world, the rest of the country's going, oh, it's really bad out there, man. Right? We are actually starting to enjoy the good times coming back. So all I would say is, as truckers and trucking companies, we're getting through this. It's been a while now. Okay. We're getting through it, but the good news is you're going to be the first ones to see it. So there's a lot of drivers that are saying, I'm thinking about getting out of trucking altogether. Well, there's really nowhere else to go. Okay.
The whole world's kind of in this.
Yeah. We have friends in the Philippines they're saying it's bad over there too. But the good news is hang in there, guys, because you're going to be the first to see the good times. Would you agree? Oh, she's yawning.
I would agree. My nose is kind of like stuffy, so I'm trying to stay back, but
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But no, we definitely see it when it's good and when it's bad. And the good thing about it is we at least can be, it's like that the grandpa or the grandma or whatever, like even me, ooh, it's gonna rain, my knee's hurting or whatever the case is. Well, we're truckers. Time's getting better. I could see the freight going up. We can be like little people that say the premonitions,
I know some truckers that are 70 grandpa that are running scams. Anyways. Craziness. So, I've got another survey, but I'm gonna save it for the next podcast. Where actually I didn't realize we're actually getting up there in time. I think we'll go ahead and say podcast is done. What do you think? We can go ahead and wrap this one up. Do you have the word of the day today, Ruth Ann?
I do, but my computer went on that pause thing, so let me reopen it.
Yeah.
All right, you ready? From Word Genius.
Go ahead.
Word of the day.
Word Genius. We haven't mentioned the name Word Genius in quite a while. Y'all need to sign up for Word Genius. It's free, and they'll send you the word of the day with definition, and they'll make you smarter.
They would.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, honestly.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Glebe.
Dweeb? No, glebe.
Oh, I thought you said dweeb.
No,
I'm like,
glebe with a G.
glebe? Spell it.
Glebe.
Okay. Is it a noun?
Yes.
He's a glebe?
Yep.
What is it? What does it mean?
Land, fields, a piece of land serving as part of a clergyman's benefice or providing income. So like a field, like
A field?
yeah, land or fields. A farmer, the fields.
Okay. So
It's something that provides income, or it's just the land or fields. It's like, so the reason I thought this would be something good for drivers to know is because they could be driving down the road and they go, look at that glebe. That's a beautiful glebe. Look at that.
I doubt they'll say it. I doubt they'll say it.
You never know. There might be one driver that will sit there and say, I like that, Ruth Ann.
Hey, I was thinking, like, I was actually going to say to everybody before we got off, hey, summer's, here, and start enjoying everybody. But, summer isn't officially here till like June 21st because it's the day before my birthday. Not that I'm hinting.
Yeah, right. There you go.
No, you know me. I don't like. But anyways, what I was getting at though is they should really move summer to like May because usually by May it's pretty nice out. You know what I mean? I guess in the northern states it's not, but usually by May it's pretty warm out. I think they should change that around. But other than that, I think we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.